Something you talked about on your show the other day, we talked about this with Charles Robinson of Yahoo last hour on the show, is the situation that's revolving around the Minnesota Vikings. They play one of the marquee games of the week this weekend. They take on the Giants and Daniel Jones. And Stefon Diggs in the middle of a lot of controversy in which the star wide receiver wants to get traded, but maybe doesn't want to get traded. I don't want to admit I want to be traded, but the rumors are all true. One of the more bizarre question and answers that you will hear. This is Stefon Diggs from yesterday.
Is there truth to the rumors that you want to be traded?
I just answered that question, Chris.
So you do want to be traded?
Did I say that?
Well, you said
I said there's truth to all rumors, and what I mean by that, so I can, politely explain. There was a lot of speculation of me being frustrated. Of course, as being a receiver and wanting to have success and wanting to win. If you want to win and you're not winning, of course you'll be frustrated. That's my answer.
There's been speculation and stuff that you might want to be traded.
Speculation?
Do you want to be traded?
Is along with rumors and all that?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's truth to all rumors. I mean, no matter how you dress it up, I won't be saying nothing on it. I won't be speaking on it at all. But there is truth to all rumors, I guess.
That's bizarre. That's just bizarre. Do you want to be traded? I don't want to say I'm going to be traded, but I want to let you know I want to be traded.
I'm not going to speak on that. Let me speak on that.
And then later on,
and then they're like, wait. So do you want to be traded? Who said that? Like, you did. Oh, and it's one of those things to where when somebody says something in the conversation, you start kind of going back in your mind, going like, "Am I losing my mind? Did I not hear?" And then you're looking around the room. There's a bunch of other reporters, and they're sitting there going, "No, you're not losing your mind. He doesn't." So do you think he doesn't know what he said, or he means that he was just frustrated? Like, what do you think he legitimately means? I have my own opinion. I'll share it with you in a second. But
well, I just want to spotlight also that later on in the conversation, he was asked, have you asked for a trade? And he said no. Has your agent asked for a trade? He said, I don't know. So apparently, Stefon Diggs' agent is allowed to just make unilateral decisions surrounding his career without letting him know.
He goes rogue.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a trade. Look, this is a byproduct of Antonio Brown. Speaking of things we said in our shows, when Antonio Brown was allowed to insubordinate himself away from the Raiders and get to the Patriots, every star in the NFL who wanted out of their current situation said, oh, wait a minute, that worked. All he had to do was be a jerk for a while,
you think?
And he found his way out. Now, he screwed
lost
himself.
$21 million.
Right. He screwed himself because his way of getting out in the end was insulting Mike Mayock at practice and challenging him, and the Raiders saying, well, you broke clauses in your contract, we're not paying you. But everybody else saw that and said, hey, he just had to be a jerk and not want to play, and they got rid of him. So now Jalen Ramsey, who is being a smarter Antonio Brown, is staying away from the Jaguars, but he's traveling with the team. And when he doesn't want to play, he says he's sick or his back hurts, and he's day to day. Right? You can't cut me because look, I was sick and I left because I had a baby and my back hurts and I can't play. So you can't just cut me. But if I refuse to play eventually, I'm going to make you trade me. And that's what Stefon Diggs is doing now. Except they're seeing the Antonio Brown situation. All right, he screwed that up. Let me do it a little bit differently. It's not like you can just cut Stefon Diggs for insubordination. He hasn't said he wanted a trade, but he's not saying he doesn't want to trade. He's trying to be more crafty around it. He's accomplishing exactly what he wants to accomplish. Yeah, I may sound ridiculous because he does, but in the end, people know I want to trade, and now Minnesota knows I want to trade, and I'm going to make this divisive until Minnesota finally capitulates and says, okay, we'll do it. We'll trade you. Now he thinks he's going to get to the Patriots because he started following Tom Brady and the Patriots on Instagram. That's not going to happen. They'll trade you to the furthest outpost in the National Football League they can. But his strategy, as far as he thinks, it's working because they know I want out and people know I want out, but it's not like I said it. It's not like I made a demand. They can deactivate me. I'm still coming to practice. I'm still doing all these things, and we'll see where it goes from here. Eventually, they're going to get sick of me, and they're going to have to trade me.
Yeah, I hear you, and I do think that there was a week or two where players were trying to feel empowered, like, man, it's like the NBA, we can force our way, whatever. And then you look around, and you're like, Melvin Gordon tried to hold out, and all he did was lose money. Le'Veon Bell sat out a whole year, and he just lost $14 million. Antonio Brown went from $30 million to $9 million to no million. Jalen Ramsey's been sitting out, and Shad Khan came out and said, like, we're not trading him. I look. I don't. I do. I think Stefon Diggs asked to be traded, and they said no. Well, let's figure it out. And he's left with the I'm just frustrated sort of thing. Do I think that he would love to get to another place? Sure, but the Vikings we're not trading you early in the season when we got a chance at this thing to figure things out. And by the way, they got to be able to afford you. Remember, Stefon Diggs signed a 5-year, $72 million deal with $40 million in guarantees. He takes up 6.5% of their cap space. Do I think they got a stinker in Kirk Cousins? I do. I think Kirk Cousins, this is people want to know why Jay Gruden's so upset with the quarterback situation. He never thought they didn't think Kirk Cousins was good enough. They upgraded with Alex Smith, and then Alex Smith broke his leg in 2 places. And now they've been trying to put together ever since Colt McCoy got hurt as well. Right? So they're sitting there going we finally figured out the quarterback, and the dude got hurt and he'll never play football again. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins is the perfect embodiment of why free agents are so hard in the NFL. It's basically 1/3 of the time you hit. And he was fine last year, 4,000 yards, but anybody could see he didn't play well in big games. And now everything's become a big game, and he overthinks. He doesn't trust. It's a new offense, a new scheme. They want to. The coach is super conservative, wants to run the football, and you're starting to lose the team. And he just doesn't exude the type of confidence that guys buy into. But as for Stefon Diggs is concerned, I think he's terrific. I think he's a great player. Not good. I think he's a great elite level wide receiver. But this dude has to understand this is the problem with signing long-term contracts in the NFL. They own your rights, bro. You ain't going anywhere. And you sound like an idiot trying to use semantics and be clever and outsmart reporters are sitting there going look, dude, this is not hard. Do you or do you not want to be traded? There's some truth to all rumors. You sound like a person who's trying to outsmart people and doesn't need to.
It's playing both sides of the coin because he doesn't know how it's going to turn out. He wants to be traded. Right. He wants to keep pushing this narrative.
Right.
So I'm okay with sounding bizarre if I'm going to do this. I'm okay with sounding bizarre. I mean, just the fact when you want to play that whole, because look, we see press conferences where people say things where you go, okay, you roll your eyes. But when did your agent ask for a trade and you say, I don't know what my agent's asked for or not asked for? I mean, that's a point where you got to stop as a reporter and go, all right, stop. Come on, really tough. So your agent can go rogue, can do all these things, and you don't even know if he's asked for a trade or not. You just don't talk to him. You don't know. Your career is at stake, and you're allowing him to just say anything he wants to about that. I mean, that's the point where you realize the ridiculousness of the situation and that Stefon Diggs really doesn't care because he's got the money. He's not doing anything that can force the Vikings to say, you know what, we're suspending you and we're not paying you. So guess what? I'm just going to kind of throw this out there, and everybody knows. And it's my way of letting. And it doesn't matter how bad I look, because in the end, if I get what I want, which is a trade to the Patriots or somewhere else where I'm going to get the football, because look, wide receivers, diva wide receivers care about one thing and one thing only: am I going to catch passes? They don't care about winning. They don't care. Doesn't matter. Win, lose, doesn't matter. But if I catch 7 passes for 115 yards and a touchdown, that means more money. That means more notoriety. That means everything. It doesn't matter. I just need to catch passes.
Listen. I want to be fair to Stefon Diggs. He did say, when you're not winning, you get frustrated. And I think anybody who has watched the Vikings,
but you're 2-2. You're not 0-4.
I got it. But when you have the second, they have the lowest. What are the numbers here? Kirk Cousins is last in pass attempts. That's less than Mitch Trubisky. They've run the ball 61% of the time on first and second down. They throw the ball 68% of the time on third down. They're completely and utterly predictable. They're right there with the Jets in terms of bottom of the league in offensive numbers, and the Jets are on their third string quarterback, right? He has every right to be frustrated. Hell, Adam Thielen, who, is basically a walk-on into the NFL. And he made the NFL because he was at a tryout camp. Adam Thielen voiced his frustration after the game. So I think there's no problem being frustrated. There's a difference between being frustrated, as he has every right to be, being frustrated that, look, I'll run the ball as much as you want to run the ball, but if it ain't working, we got to change this offense. And then the difference in being frustrated and saying, I'm out. That's a completely different discussion. So
that's a discussion on Kirk Cousins, as you were talking about. It's
an indictment on Kirk
Can we
Cousins.
go forward with Kirk Cousins? There's not a day that goes by, Doug, that I don't go, man, I feel so lucky the Jets wound up with that Kirk Cousins said, I'm just going to use you as leverage for the Vikings, and the Jets were able to get Sam Darnold when he eventually comes back with his mono and his enlarged spleen. I go, boy, they would have just put in so much more trouble than they are, but instead they get the young quarterback they wanted, and Kirk Cousins has turned into a guy that you're realizing was Kirk Cousins, and he had his ceiling.
But, okay, I agree with all of that. I would also say this to anybody in the Vikings or anybody's, what were their options? Like, your options in free agency at quarterback are not good. Like, there's really no such thing as a high-level free agent quarterback. They don't exist. Because if they want you, they can just franchise tag you. You can't go anywhere. That's the same thing with Dak Prescott. Like, you're not a free agent at the end of the year. You can franchise tag. Three consecutive years. And they'll work out a deal in the meantime. If they want you, they will keep you. And if you're on the market, you're on the market for a reason. So what were to the Vikings fans, like, Case Keenum stinks. He's gotten his last, he got the Denver coach fired, and he's probably going to end up getting Jay Gruden fired. He got, what's his name, fired in L.A. Jeff Fisher fired in L.A. If you start Case Keenum in one of the season, you're getting fired at the end of the year because he's just not good enough. He's a great dude, right? Somehow Mike Zimmer survived only because he only played at the end of the year, right? And he played way above his level. But even then, like, look, there's just a ceiling to Case Keenum. And the ceiling for Kirk Cousins is higher. It's not as high as, two of the other quarterbacks in their division. And they're not able to hide it the way the Bears have been able to hide, Trubisky's inadequacies. And we'll see. This is a huge week for the Vikings because they're playing against the Giants, who aren't any good. Their defense isn't any good. And this can be a get-right game, right? Everybody gets their stats. They get a win. They get out of town. If they lose, then all bets are off in terms of what happens. I will tell you this, though. Kirk Cousins, 15% of the cap. Players yearn for these huge guaranteed contracts, whether it's injury, whether it's suspension or dysfunction, or you're just not as good as your money. How many of these contracts end up being worth what these guys are being paid long term? And the answer is not very many. Like, Aaron Donald's probably worth every penny, but even that has hurt the Rams' ability to field an entire roster on their defense. And that's the exception. This is more the rule.